council meeting November 9th, 2020. No delegations. Right on to the minutes. Recommendation for minutes. The regular council meeting held on October 26, 2020 be adopted as presented.
So moved. Second.
Discussion. In favor? Opposed? None. Carried. Minutes of the budget and strategic planning meeting held on October 28, 2020 be adopted as presented.
So moved. Second.
Discussion. In favor? Opposed? Carried. No business from delegations, business rights from meeting. Minutes, sorry. The council received and filed the chief CAO's status report as presented.
Moved.
Martin.
Just a couple of items to speak to bring council up to date on a couple of items. We have submitted on page 11 of the agenda, first item there, the 2020 flood response costs. Those claims have been submitted to the province. We have, if I remember my numbers right, Christina said a little over $70,000 yet to come back from the province. Number 3 on that same page by airport fencing, which I see now should be number 2. Staff are confirming if an application is required, it is not required.
Sorry, which one was that?
On page 11, the last item where it says airport fencing,
Oh, okay.
staff confirming if an application is required, it is not required. The East Trans-Canada Highway Bridge, there's some extra information on their tables. It's in progress. We're working out how to do that, how best to follow up on what council wants to do. It seems that the Ministry of Transportation in general wants to just survey off the part that we need, and it would then be those property, it would not be a lease or anything else with Ministry of Transportation Infrastructure. It would be our property. As you see in the additional information there, Stantec is prepared to do that with Forest. They have a BC land surveyor on staff, and they can do it. And they are used to doing that kind of work for with Ministry of Transportation. So I will be following up on that. At the top of page 13, the 2020 tax sale. 3 have been fully redeemed and 1 is working out a payment plan. Christina asked me to read out some numbers. We currently have only $51 in delinquent property taxes. That's taxes from 2018. In arrears, that's 2019 taxes. We have $12,592 outstanding. And in current, as in this year's property taxes, we still have to collect $42,510. And again, from this year for utilities, $31,828. So we have well over $70,000 in collectibles just from this year. The total of all of those, including the delinquent and arrears, comes to $86,981. Our intent to provide more financial information and more information on these status reports other than just council business. There's a lot of times when we are responding to other agencies and development things, that sort of nature, that are not necessarily on a council agenda. So we're looking at growing these reports to be more inclusive. And that was it for the additional information.
And I'll just add to the page 14, the block watch. We were waiting for the new sergeant to come, and he's here. So I will touch base with him on it, but unfortunately we won't be able to hold a community meeting.
No.
So it'll still be on hold, but at least we can get the process started.
it'll be a whole new kind of block watch too with COVID. Oh, that's not.
Oh, no,
this is
we
not-
can't
no,
even
this
start
is-
the program
yeah,
because the Block Watch program is community driven.
Yeah.
And we can't have an organizing meeting because of COVID, so, but we can get the wheels in progress.
Any further discussion on the CAO status report?
Thank you.
All in favor? Carried.
Well, did you,
Sorry, I missed the mover and seconder on that.
I moved it.
I was gonna say, did you have a seconder? Because I don't think anyone seconded it. I will.
Thank you. On the committee reports, economic development, Councillor Peters and Councillor Coun. I think this is under economic development, but I know it's in our agenda package, but certainly the increased broadband and the announcement from the Prime Minister that there's a large sum of money that will go to different areas of the country for developing their increased broadband, and we just wanted to let council know that the TNRD is already engaged with a company called Tanex, and it's worthy to know that they will be approaching the municipalities on a holistic level, or everybody together, everybody in the TNRD region, to come up with a connectivity plan. So that's forthcoming.
They issued a survey about a month ago to the different communities and they filled one out.
Yeah, we're experiencing the same thing throughout the regional district, and so it's in the works. Anything further under economic development? Budget Administrative Services, Councillor Peters and Councillor Coun.
We put because it's a financial matter, we put the Inter-Community Bylaw Enforcement Officer recommendation under Budget and Administrative Services. You'll see just a standalone sheet with one item on it.
The addition?
Additional item, yes.
I'll move that council approve entering into a 5-year inter-community bylaw enforcement agreement and commit to $50,000 for 2021 and $30,000 for each subsequent year.
Second,
Discussion?
just to remind everybody that we set, those are like high end of budget. We're having a meeting tomorrow where we'll have a little better idea on some closer numbers, but we budgeted high. Hopefully it won't be anywhere near those numbers. This is the next step we need before we can go any further with the process, because if we don't have a commitment from the 3 communities, it's dead in the water.
Has all the other communities made the commitment then?
We will be know all of that tomorrow.
Ashcroft will be discussing it
Tonight, and
Uh,
Clinton was supposed to do it last Wednesday. I
Talked
believe.
to their CAO, and my recollection of that conversation is that no, it was not taken to their council.
Oh, okay.
So it's gonna have to wait till their next meeting.
Ashcroft approved that at their meeting this evening. And it's worthy to note that the $400,000 plus that we're going to receive, if we haven't already received it from the Rapid Start grant, can go towards the bylaw enforcement startup and expenses. Go ahead.
We have not received any firm criteria on that amount, on that grant. What I've read seems to indicate to me, and I could be wrong, that this is just for additional costs related solely to COVID-19.
Bylaw enforcement is COVID-19.
Yes.
So it does qualify.
That's part of their
Yeah.
mandate.
For anything over and above normal operating costs, they would pay for COVID-19.
So that'll be covered in our 50,000 for this year.
Perhaps.
Perhaps, we have not seen any firm criteria, just broad goals so far.
Yeah, hate to commit that amount of money, just kind of coming out of the blue, but bylaw officer is something that we've been looking at for a long, long time, and I think it will be more than worth the money that we put into it.
This is, just to be clear, and I think this was actually mentioned by Councilor Peters at an earlier meeting, that this is not meant to be a revenue generator. It's meant to bring people into compliance. $50,000 expenditure up front and $30,000 thereafter. I agree with Councilor Bloomberg. This is something that the community's been looking for a long time. And I think it'll be very well received. It's going to be a very worthwhile expense if we can come together.
Any further?
Just, just with our budget, it's kind of, our budget itself is quite strained. But like you said, the community is wanting a bylaw officer. So I hope that we do get the rapid startup grant, and that'll help us with the finances for this.
Just to clarify that on the restart grant, we actually did get approved for $461,000. And we're going to be transferring that money into our account sometime this week or late last week, very soon if we don't have it already. What we're waiting for now are the more detailed information about what's a valid expense, how we track it, how we report it, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was 161,000?
461,000.
461. Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Any further? All singing bylaw review? I'm sorry, all in favor? Carried. Policy and bylaw review, Mayor, myself, and Councilor Peters.
I would move that the Village of Cache Creek Procedure Bylaw number 818/2020 be given first reading as presented.
Second.
Discussion.
Just on page 16 of our package, the notification places, the post office is not listed there.
You're right. It doesn't. I don't know how that got missed. Okay.
So then I would like to make a friendly amendment to my motion that it be, the post office be added to definitions notification places.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor? That change. Carried.
I'd like to move that the Village of Cache Creek Procedure Bylaw 818/2020 as amended be given second reading.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor? Opposed?
Opposed.
Pardon me?
I'm opposed.
Did you oppose the first reading?
No, I didn't ask for the opposing.
I would move that the Village of Cache Creek Procedure Bylaw number 818/2020 be given third reading as amended.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor? Carried. Any
Opposed.
opposed? Zoning amendment.
I would like to move that we direct staff to amend bylaw 423 zoning to allow residential suites in C1 developments and to allow secondary suites in R1 zones.
Discussion.
What-
Hoover?
Why is this coming up now?
Coming up because I've just had a second inquiry from a potential developer in the downtown core who wants to include residential with commercial. In our official community plan, that is one of the policies that they recommend. It has never been carried through into our zoning bylaw. Your OCP dictates how you set up your zoning bylaw. That amendment, there's never been an amendment to our zoning bylaw to reflect that policy. And the same holds true since we're talking about residential. We've also had, since I started, at least 3 different inquiries from people wondering if they could set up a secondary suite or an in-law suite. And I had to tell them that no, our zoning bylaw did not allow that as a permitted use, not in R1. So that again is something that was in the official community plan, and that's why I'm recommending the council proceed with this.
I don't mind the secondary suites, I just want to make sure that they're set up correctly and that people know they're there. So if there's an emergency, the ambulance knows they're there, so they have their own separate utilities, so that, you know, they're not just, as in other cities, they've had house fires and all of a sudden they're pulling bodies out of places they didn't realize there were because there were so many suites involved in the house sort of thing.
Those points are all well taken, and yeah, we will be conferring with the TNRD, their building inspection department, and street addressing service to make sure that all secondary suites are identified and that they're properly built. There will also be a provision that they must provide at least 1 off-street parking space for any secondary suite.
So that would be all covered under that, the building code, compliant with the building code on page 27 of the top?
Yes. Well, not parking, not all, but I mean, the off-street parking is not regulated by the
It's not.
building code, but it's just a standard practice that any municipality that allows secondary suites, they request that because they don't want streets getting clogged with parking. There's several streets in Cache Creek already that have a lot of parking on them, and they don't want to add that.
Any further? All in favor? Carried. Public Works and Community Facilities, myself and Councilor DeVoe.
I would move that council approve closing the village office from December 24th to January 1st inclusive.
Second,
Discussion.
kind of early to be thinking of Christmas, isn't it?
Was
I
it
said
like
snow.
outside?
Let it snow.
Just giving us enough time to close it so people have enough notice. And so that we get our communication requests in without using them up before.
Further discussion? All in favor? Carried. Village Services and Liaison. Councilor DeVoe, Councilor Coun.
Gold Country.
Can we do that in camera possibly?
It was an in-camera meeting,
Yes.
so yes, we can.
Thank you.
I have no other.
I don't have that.
Okay, thank you. Okay. On Protective Services, myself and Councilor Coun.
Have nothing to report.
We'll make a note that our fire department members are going through a training session 7th and 8th this past weekend, the 14th and 15th, which is I believe this coming weekend. And for 8 hours on both days. And it's to do with exterior operations. And just want to note that they're doing this on volunteer time. There's been approached a number of times in the past week about our fire department being a paid fire department. It's not a paid fire department, it's a volunteer fire department. So a total of 32 hours of their own personal time and then exam time. And that's the commitment they're giving to our community in just this past 2 weekends. So our thanks to them for endeavoring to get trained and bring us up to the standards that the Justice Institute wants. Patient care tower, fall of 2022, on time and on budget, until they realized they had some COVID-19 exposure, and that may change, but the last report, it was on time and on budget. Intergovernmental relations, myself and Councilor Coun.
The TNRB invasive plant program is wondering if the municipalities now want to be involved in their program. They have done the areas for many years, but of course, weeds don't follow people's property lines. I believe, yeah. I think before though we enter, I would like to see them come to a meeting so we could ask them questions.
If I may, that's what's on the agenda for consideration. They're only asking if there's sufficient interest for them to come to speak to council. So that's what you'll see in the recommendation. That invite TNRD staff to attend a future council meeting to present, or just receive and file if they're not interested.
So I will make that recommendation that we invite TNRD staff to attend and make their presentation.
Discussion?
Kind of torn on this because although I really hate chemical sprays, and I know that they're detrimental to our dogs and cats and birds and other things, I know that the town has been inundated with weeds for the last 2 or 3 years, and it's just getting worse. So
They could use my backyard as a test area.
for more weeds. So I'd like
Show how the program works.
yeah, so I'd like to at least have them here so we could talk to them about it.
Any further discussion? Jamie presented at TNRD along with their others, invasive plant specialists, the other staff, and was very informative. And the question of chemical sprays did come up. And he, I'll let that answer come from him and what they use as green
Goats.
maybe. Yeah, so, but very informative, and there's a lot of good points to their presentation that we can incorporate in our municipality. So that's a great first step, and thank you for that. All in favor? Carried.
And one other thing.
Yes.
I'd like to recommend that we write a letter of congratulations to our MLA Jackie Taggart for holding on to her seat and winning Fraser Nicola once more.
Discussion. All in favor? Carried. Landfill Advisory Committee, myself and Councilor Coomer, and I didn't attend, so if you could inform us of what transpired.
Not a whole lot. There were 3 Belcorp staff members there and 2 members of the committee. Actually, just one, Jack Jay's CAO Dalsin and myself were there, but we don't actually, as far as I know, have status on that committee. Maybe you do, I don't.
I believe I do, yes.
So that was sort of disappointing that only 2 members of the committee were present. I left my report at home, which is why I'm kind of hemming and hawing. They're working on getting contracts for the site. It's slow going. They are hoping to come a little bit under budget this year, not by a whole lot, but something around 20 to 30,000. It's still better than over budget. And as far as the Campbell Hill landfill goes. They're still working on roads, still digging. They are not going to have the robust inspections that they had with the Cache Creek landfill to start off with anyway. They're going to be doing them every 3 months just because they're not going to have a lot of garbage being put in there right off the bat. And also because of COVID, it means that they have less people on site at any given time. So, as I say, it was not a well-attended meeting, so there wasn't a whole lot of information, whole lot of discussion. Hopefully next time.
Thank you. Anything further under landfill? Information correspondence? Council receiving and filed the correspondence for the Honorable Brad Biss.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Carried.
Next is the elected members.
New business. Questions from the public, questions from the press.
That would be
Don't have anything, no.
We have a motion going to a closed session.
So moved.
second.
Discussion, all in favor? Carried.